Cool deal. He was like a father figure to me. I mean, really, him with a couple other coaches taught me about basketball but more important than that, I think just like taught me about life. And Coach Sharp comes from humble beginnings, and man, looking back, he was a grinder, and he used to work all kinds of jobs to make ends meet, and he just made a huge sacrifice for not just myself, but a lot of us who went to Bella Vista at that time that he came in contact with. And I think I really took a liking to him and his family. And I think when you think about like, especially male figures in my life who helped, influence, the success I've had, he's up there, as high as anyone, because I think also of just at a time when just an age, it's just a great age of, in high school when you're 15, 16, 17, and you're figuring out how it all works. It's so important to have those kind of people around you, because I just think you're just so ripe to be developed and influenced in certain ways.
Was there any particular moment? I know I have a few myself with Coach Meyer. I can remember him actually on a Saturday practice. I'll never forget him calling me out for something I didn't do and telling me that he needed me to be like the Incredible Hulk. This was in front of all my teammates, and not like one of those little creatures that crawled out of the ground on Saturday mornings, which immediately all my teammates were like Teletubbies, and proceeded to essentially, become called a Teletubby for the rest of that season. But it stuck with me, and it was one of the funny moments where, he really sent a message. Is there anything with Coach Sharp, from high school that was like one of those moments where you look back and laugh, or that really was a like kind of pivotal moment that you remember?
When I was a freshman, he was coaching me. I think I had a little too much flash, into my game. And I remember, it's so funny how when you get older, you remember things, but I remember like I had a layup or something in practice, and I tried to do like a fancy reverse, and him jumping on me, and just it was one of the times, like when I think back, probably like the most mad he was, or at least he made a big deal out of it. And I think I was probably arrogant, to be honest, like too much confidence. And I think he was trying to reel me in the beginning of the season when we had first met. But he also, that was one of the times when I think, he would get the most like mad at me. But I think he just taught us like work ethic. He would work all night at restaurants, and and then we would have practice sometimes in the morning. He'd come straight to practice without sleeping. I mean, and it's those kind of things that you remember, where you don't really know at the time like how much of an impact that they're having on you. But I think back and I'm like, again, teaching me like anything's possible if you like outwork people. That was like, I think that he really did a great job of installing that in me. There's a great video. I'm drawing a blank on the guy's name, but it was where he's giving a speech at a graduation, and it was essentially saying that his father used to wake up at 4 a.m. every day to go to work and to do all these things before work. And one time his wife asked him, or one of the kids asked him, like, "Dad, why are you doing this? Why do you wake up so early?" And his answer was that in hopes that my kids see me in the act of excellence, and essentially that it rubs off on them. And I thought that was like such a powerful thing, because all of us who have, achieved something or worked hard, you get it from somewhere, right? Like you see it somewhere and it clicks in your brain.
Absolutely.
And I think, Coach Sharp was like that. My mom was like that as well. Just in demonstrating what hard work really what sacrifice, what hard work really, really looked like.
Without a doubt. Yeah. That point you just made too, about it being something that you don't necessarily pick up or aren't really aware of in the moment, I think is one of the most important things that, coaches have to kind of keep in mind, as well as, same thing goes with parenting, right? Like,
yeah,
kids are always watching, athletes are always watching, and you're affected. And in so many cases, you're, as a kid or an athlete, you're just trying to get through the moment, right? That whatever it is, that hurdle. But when you mature, you get older, and you have an opportunity to kind of take a deep breath, and you're not under pressure, and you start to evaluate the situation, it does start to sink in whatever it was that you were taught or what you took from it. And the being able to be consistent in those messages can have a big impact, in not just that performance of that season, right, but in life and in the next endeavor, right? So what Coach Sharp did for you in high school facilitated and enabled you to overcome a lot of what we went through at Davis and beyond. And
Yeah.
I think that's a big thing for coaches, and not an instant gratification of knowing you made an impact on kids, but you can see it down the road. And I to this day, there's so many things that I realized I had no idea what I was learning in the moment, but it's directly been a lesson I've carried forward in almost every part of my life in so many areas. So yeah, very, very, very cool, man. Well, and that kind of brings us to our time playing together at UC Davis. Very well touched on in the beginning by you as far as our team and the guys, from the grind of our 5 a.m. workouts and kind of tearing our bodies down to being able to compete and create memories as a group. But talk to me about how you got to Davis. What was the process? I mean, Davis is a short drive from where we grew up in Sacramento, but who were you recruited by? What kind of drew you to Davis and kind of put you on a path that brought us together?
Yeah, I didn't have as much, big time. I mean, I wasn't as recruited as heavily, I think, as I thought I was going to be or wanted to be when I was in high school. And so Davis was an option. Coach Tressler, who was there, who didn't even get a chance to coach me because he had left before I got there. But Coach Tressler had kind of recruited me a little bit, and it ended up, when I got there, it ended up being a preferred walk-on. That's how it started at Davis, and then obviously I was able to kind of earn my way and earn a scholarship. But yeah, and going back to Coach Sharp was the first one to bring me up there to pick up in the spring, and I remember playing with the guys the first time spring of my senior year, and I went up there a handful of times, and honestly, they kind of said, hey, you could be on the team if you want to, be a walk-on. And then it was also kind of, there was still, when I got there in the first week of school, and there was still kind of a tryout. And I remember, this, and conditioning was a big deal, right, at UC Davis. And I think not just Davis, but all places back in our era, start of school before the season, conditioning was a badge of honor. Coaches, it's changed so much, but coaches were going to try to test you, right, and beat you down and make you do all these crazy physical tests. And as ironically, that was my strength. So, I was just so good at that kind of stuff. And so I remember like the first couple weeks of conditioning as a preferred walk-on, I was as a freshman, I rolled in there and was really, really good. And I think they saw that. And that was, that was the start of me, being on the team, redshirting my first year, which was awesome. Living in the dorms, at UC Davis, I think was one of the best years of my life. Now looking back, just all being a freshman in college and having a roommate and going through all that. And UC Davis, obviously a very good academic institution, being close to home. So it checked a lot of boxes. And when I went there, honestly, I don't know, Phil, if you felt like I never knew if I was going to, the Division I thing kind of was out the window, because we were Division II when I went there. Never thought I would play Division I basketball, but I was happy there. I loved our group of guys, as we talked about, the camaraderie, the friendships, the relationships. I mean, you and I know some of our memories outside of basketball, right? This was before name, image, and likeness. So, all our going through that, so redshirting and then playing for 4 years, going through a coaching change was very interesting. Going through a Division II to Division I transfer, and then having an opportunity to play a lot and be a starter for, most of the games on a Division I team, something I never thought really would be accomplished, was kind of cool and something I can look back on. And I think, I'm proud, now, you probably as well, like UC Davis has done well, and Coach Les there has taken them to the tournament in the last, 6 or 7 years. They went once. And so I think, and when you say UC Davis, I played basketball at UC Davis. It's, they've built a good reputation, and obviously academically just a great school. So just an amazing experience. I would be remiss if I didn't forget, probably the most important thing about my time at Davis was, I met my wife there, Lindsay. You knew Lindsay. She was part of our friend group a little bit, right?
Yep.
So getting to meet my soulmate there, and in a quick funny story, but we had our daughter in 2013. She was named Caitlin. We were moving houses when our second son, or excuse me, my first son was about to be born. And we moved in to a house in Birmingham, and the next door neighbors who are about our age, they had a daughter named Caitlin, their oldest daughter, and they had a son named Davis. So kind of ironically, so when Lindsay got pregnant with my son and we're thinking of names, we kind of stole the neighbor's name Davis because we didn't have a great name that we loved. And because we met at UC Davis. So my first son is named Davis, honestly, partly after, UC Davis because of, again, all the memories and we met there. And so, yeah, kind of a cool thing and just an amazing